Good evening and welcome to Poland Daily. I'm Nicholas Richardson and this is the news. The third wave of the pandemic is accelerating. At the same time, mass vaccination is advancing, so the fight against the coronavirus has become a race against time. After today's meeting of the Cabinet Council to discuss the pandemic, Polish President Andrzej Duda gave an assurance that everyone suffering from COVID-19 will receive appropriate hospital care.
Currently in Poland, 34,500 of 45,000 available COVID beds are occupied. This number is expected to increase by 6,000 to 7,000. As for ventilators, there are currently over 3,370 in use across the country, while the total number available is over 4,300. I would like to emphasize very strongly that both in terms of the number of hospital beds and the number of ventilators, Polish society can feel safe. The healthcare system is ready. The president also added that the Matura exams will be held as scheduled. They will start on May 4th and will run for more than 20 days. The examinations will be in written form only. Minister of Health Adam Niedzielski during today's press conference underlined that the pandemic situation in Poland is still difficult. Vaccinations and acceleration, mentioned by Minister Dworczyk and Prime Minister Morawiecki, is the only possible answer as far as available resources are concerned to combat this pandemic. The national immunization program is also accelerating on Monday. From April 14th, people born in 1962 will be able to register for vaccination. At the end of the month, registration for people born in 1973 will begin. If we have a registration start scheduled for Monday on April 12th, then this registration will start 100%. But if, after 5 days from starting registration for subsequent years, it turns out that there is so much attendance and so much interest that the dates set by the vaccination points are running out, or when it starts to be too heavy for the systems, then we can suspend the process for 1 or 2 days.
Albo zaczyna być to zbyt dużym obciążeniem dla systemu, wtedy możemy na 1 lub 2 dni wstrzymać ten proces.
Until now, only a doctor was able to administer vaccinations, but this is about to change. According to an ordinance of the Minister of Health, dentists, medical assistants, nurses, midwives, paramedics, or physical therapists will be allowed to administer vaccinations.
Jeżeli będą inne zawody medyczne,
if other medical professions take part in vaccination and students in the final years of medical studies, I think it will significantly improve system capacity.
Poprawi przepustowość systemu.
Another novelty is the fact that each patient will fill in vaccination questionnaires himself. In case of any doubt, the person will be referred to a doctor. New forms and places of vaccinations are anticipated in the second quarter, including, among others, pharmacies, workplaces, and drive-through points.
The Polish Ministry of Health announced that another 28,500 coronavirus cases have been diagnosed in the last 24 hours. A further 768 people have died.
The number of people infected from the beginning of the pandemic has already exceeded 2.5 million, and the number of COVID-19 deaths is approaching 57,500. Within the last 24 hours in Poland, a record-breaking 244,748 vaccinations have been given. In total, more than 7,250,000 vaccines have already been administered. The first dose have been given to nearly 5,170,000 people and 2 doses to almost 2,100,000 people.
His Royal Highness Prince Philip, Duke of Edinburgh, and husband of the British Queen Elizabeth II, died this morning at Windsor Castle, Buckingham Palace announced. The statement issued by the palace just after midday spoke of the Queen's deep sorrow. Prince Philip was 99 years old, just 2 months short of his 100th birthday. The Duke of Edinburgh, the longest-serving royal consort in British history, was at the Queen's side for more than 6 decades of her reign.
With this announcement, Buckingham Palace brought sad news to the world. Prince Philip was one of the most important symbols of the British monarchy. For over 73 years, he stood at the side of his wife, Queen Elizabeth, for whom he was an invaluable support. Today, the United Kingdom is in mourning.
Prince Philip earned the affection of generations here in the United Kingdom, across the Commonwealth, and around the world. We remember the Duke for all of this, and above all, for his steadfast support for Her Majesty the Queen.
With the death of the Duke of Edinburgh, flags throughout the United Kingdoms were lowered to half-mast. The memory of the longest surviving spouse of the British monarch in history is also displayed by ordinary British people who today felt a huge loss.
For me, I will send my greatest sympathy to the family and also to congratulate him, even though he's no more, for the wonderful work he's done for his country.
Prince Philip was born in 1921 in Greece. He was a descendant of the royal family of Schleswig-Holstein-Sonderburg-Glücksburg. He first met his future wife, Queen Elizabeth II, in 1939, while studying at the Maritime Cadet School. During World War II, he served in the Navy as an officer. He took part in hostilities in the Indian Ocean and the Mediterranean Sea, where he became famous for his act of heroism. On November 20, 1947, he married the future British Queen, Elizabeth II. The Duke of Edinburgh had to renounce his surname as well as give up any aspirations to continue his naval career. Philip is remembered as a reformer of royal ceremonial. He also took part in many charity initiatives. He is also remembered for his sense of humor, with some of his remarks being considered as gaffes. He was a loving father and a pillar of the royal family. For health reasons, at the age of 90, he gradually retired from public life. With his death, one chapter in the history of the British royal family closes.
The political situation around Donbass continues to escalate as the Kremlin expresses a veiled threat against Kiev by considering possible military intervention in the region under the pretext of defending its citizens. In reaction to recent events, Polish Foreign Minister Zbigniew Rau paid a visit to Kiev. The Chancellor of Germany, Angela Merkel, also attempted to de-escalate tension during a telephone call with the President of Russia, Vladimir Putin.
The conflict has been escalating in the Donbass area since the beginning of the year. According to the General Staff of the Ukrainian Army, Russian snipers are constantly firing at Ukrainian positions. Moreover, the number of provocations by pro-Russian separatists has increased. In the past few days, there has been a significant increase in threatening activities. The conflict has resulted in the death of 3 Ukrainian soldiers in direct exchange of fire. Only yesterday, the enemy's forces violated the truce in force established in July, even firing at civilian targets. Moreover, as shown by the satellite photos, Russia is massing significant forces on the border with Ukraine, which is worrisome for both the authorities in Kiev and NATO representatives. The increase in aggressive rhetoric is also observable in Russian diplomats. The deputy head of the administration of Vladimir Putin, Dmitry Kozak, declared that Russia is ready to defend its citizens living in the Donbass area. According to the Kremlin, up to 600,000 people who live in the self-proclaimed Donetsk and Luhansk Republic held Russian passports. The Ukrainian sides declared its readiness for possible aggression. The chief of the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, General Ruslan Chomzek, said that Ukrainian soldiers are prepared for any manifestation of aggression on the part of Russia. Meanwhile, in reaction to the escalation of the conflict beyond the eastern border, Foreign Minister Zbigniew Rau paid a visit to Kiev. He met his Ukrainian counterpart, Dmytro Kulba. The Polish minister expressed concern about the actions of the Kremlin and issued an assurance of the support for Kiev from Warsaw, especially in the context of defending Ukrainian sovereignty, territorial integrity, and inviolability of borders. At the same time, German Chancellor Angela Merkel had a telephone conversation with the President of Russia, Vladimir Putin. The Russian leader accused Ukraine of provocative actions in the Donbass aimed at aggravating the situation on the line between the combatant forces. Merkel called on Putin to reduce the number of Russian troops around Ukraine in order to ease tension in the region.
That's the news. Thank you for watching. Stay with us for the weather, Poland Daily Business and more programs. But from me, it's have a good night and a better tomorrow.